not.
Whoa. Good Lord.
Mike is in the business. Mike King is in the business. Mike King is in the business. Mike King is in the business, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on the mic with Mike King here. This is part of the Mike King Biz Media Network. So this is the Canadian and the Canadian Light Hour.
Oh my God.
On the mic, Mike. So this is the music that plays when they come in. Alrighty, so we got the Canadian and the Canadian Light is here with us. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, so in other words, so we got
Yeah.
Tiffany Joy Greene is here with us, Empower People. She's the resident Canadian.
Yes.
Sherry Cerny is here with us. Besides being the baseball lady, she is Canadian Light. And that is, I wasn't exactly sure that term, whether it was real.
It's not. It's something you made up.
I just heard
used
it.
that before. I used that.
So Tiffany Joy Greene made that up.
I didn't make it up.
I'm just carrying
I've
a
heard it
rumor,
before.
and
I heard a rumor.
I heard a rumor.
Great.
I'm a reporter.
I'm in that part of my business
Exactly.
already. Fantastic.
We're going to
The
stealing
rumor
signs.
mill.
Yes. We are stealing signs and stealing lines here. All right, really quickly. Tiffany Joy Greene, tell folks you are what you do.
So I am the founder, executive director, and ex officio of Empower People, and Empower People is a nonprofit that is driven to drive positive impact, ergo empower people by providing education, connection, and support to purpose and mission-driven leaders.
And you are an ex officio. What is that again?
Ex of what?
Ex officio.
That
Ex
was
officio.
exit. That just sounds important.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I resemble that remark. Alrighty, Sherry Cerny is here, the baseball lady. Tell folks you are what you do.
Okay, my name is Sherry. I am the CEO. Is that just as special as ex officio?
We're all special.
Okay,
But
great.
we can spell CEO.
Yes, we can.
It's that other one, the X, so that's EX something.
OFFICIO.
Sounds like a cheer.
Exactly.
Well, that's very apropos for me then.
Yes, it is. So
Like a cheerleader type. Yes.
I run Kids on First, which is a minority-based nonprofit that helps our young Black youth get access to baseball in the Tri-City area. That includes coaching, equipment. We're forming teams this spring, so God willing, that works out well. But yeah, we are raising the numbers and awareness of Blacks in baseball.
Hands down, you are a baseball fanatic.
Yes. I think fanatic is probably even light, but I don't think there's an. Oh, see, I am Canadian
And your,
light.
and your team is who?
The Minnesota Twins.
Okay. Always from day one.
Yeah,
There's
one
no
from
other
day
team.
one. There's no other team.
No
You
other
don't
team.
get second teams in sports. You can't.
No, you don't.
You don't get second teams. Please stop.
You can't switch your team.
You can't
When I
switch
see
your team.
somebody wearing something for the Phillies, I say, "You're from Philadelphia?" They're like, "No."
Yeah.
Why? Okay, there has to be a connection. Why else
Absolutely.
would you pick a team
Yeah.
that's lost 10,000 baseball games? I'm not an
As a
expert.
Twins fan, I resemble
You
that remark.
understand.
I will ask my husband because he's a Philly Eagles fan.
Where's he from?
Northern
York.
New York. But there's a lot of people who do not like the Giants. And what's the other one?
The Jets.
Jets, yeah.
So they
I don't-
bypassed those and kept going down 95, and they got the Phillies.
Well, maybe it has something to do with that fact that his parents were from PA.
Okay.
Okay,
There's
we
a
go.
connection, though.
There is a connection.
There's a connection.
Alrighty, so we're talking purpose-driven. We can tie that to sports, too. There are certain organizations that run better than others, and everybody in the sports world knows it.
Yeah.
It's not about money. We
No.
had the conversation before. Money can't buy championships.
Dodgers.
You can't. Did you just say the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Well, you bypassed the Yankees because...
Well, the Yankees too.
But
there's
historically...
historically.
It's like historically, whoever the best player is, the Yankees go and get him.
Yeah.
But they don't always win. Even with 27 championships.
Because it takes an ecosystem.
It does take an ecosystem.
We always talk
Let's
about that.
already.
Yes.
So, Sherry, let's talk about that. That ecosystem, the culture in baseball that shows up in winning teams. So you guys have won the World Series, right?
Yeah, twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those teams. What was different about those teams than all the other 900 bazillion times that we're going to win it this year, and we never do, except for those years?
Honest to God, when I think of those teams, I think of the pitching. I really do. I think of the pitching. I think of the chemistry. I think of the chemistry that was with both of those teams. I think of the way they were coached and the culture of it all, you know.
Tiffany Greene is over there, eyeballs just bouncing around. That's like it's talking about the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter, profit, non-profit, sports teams.
Orchestras, bands, name
It
it.
does not matter.
Mhm.
There are people, and good culture works.
It's all about your purpose and your why, and making sure everybody understands it and buys into it and feels encouraged and motivated by it.
Okay, so what happens when people, organizations get a little bit of success? Sherry, I remember Pat Riley said it's the disease of me. A lot of great dynasties won one in a row. They're going to be it. And then all of a sudden, everybody wants to get their fame and fortune. How do we battle against that?
Wow. That's, I think, remembering your why you're doing it. I think some of the most successful baseball players, and I will give you an example, and I know this is you're going to have to look them up, guys, because if you don't look them up, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But if you look at Jake Cave, okay, he plays for the Phillies right now. He started with the New York Yankees, and Minnesota Twins picked him up. He is not by any means the best right fielder we have ever seen, but you know what? He loves the game, and he is hands down one of the most successful baseball players because he keeps getting picked up by team after team because of his hard work, his dedication, and who he is. He believes in what he does, and he makes other people believe in what he does. And that, to me, is the biggest part, is remembering your why. Why do you do it? If you can remember your why and show people your why, they're going to continue to believe in you the way you do.
So, and he's good for the locker room, is what people say.
Yes.
And we talk about that in business. Some people are just great team players. They get it. What's it take to be a great team player?
Removing ego.
Yeah.
Out.
Oh, here you
right?
go with that one.
Yeah, because the biggest deterrent of success is ego. And if ego is driven by fear or ego is driven by a self-inflated, I'm the best, it will deter you from your success. And I think, now I'm not a sports guru like the lady sitting next to me, but I would have to say when I listen to people talk about sports, there are some, I can't recite names and I apologize, but I hear a lot of names, like really famous names that, you know, are they good at what they do? Yeah, but man, are they not liked? And they're not taking their teams to the championships because why? They're driven by ego, and everybody knows it. Because at the end of the day, whether we're talking like baseball, right? What is the purpose of baseball? Is the purpose of baseball to hit a ball with a stick? That's a how, right? What is the purpose of baseball? Why do people watch it? Why do people sit in the stands to watch this, you know, America's favorite pastime sport, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the purpose? That's where baseball, why it became America's, you know, most famous pastime sport, is because of what was that drive? What was the purpose behind baseball? It gave people what? Hope.
Community, hope. World War II gave people hope.
And there's been 9/11. When you look at happened after 9/11,
Yes.
when you look at the Boston bombing,
Yep.
when you look at when other things haven't happened, there's been baseball. You know, and the one part about it is when we let ego go, there was a time that we thought that whole ego-driven thing was okay. All we needed was the one guy who would drive the ego, and then he would get a bunch of people to get on the bandwagon with him.
Yeah.
As long as they knew their place. And
Yeah. And I think that has worked in some aspects, but I think that we look at things a little bit differently these days. We look at, you know, there's a difference between cocky and confident, right? And we see players like A-Rod who have completely driven their team down because of their
Not
behavior.
just one team.
Yeah.
He has multiple teams that he's gotten the Felix Unger treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been asked to leave.
Yeah. What does that say? Like, and people think that, well, he was still a great player. He was a great player up until the time he thought he was better than Derek Jeter, and he had to use enhancements 3 times to get better than the best.
He should have known going to New York it was Jeter's town.
It was Jeter's town. Like, this is my town for baseball.
This is your town. Okay, let's talk about Kids On First.
Okay.
The idea of putting that together, where are you now? You have some help there. Or you were here a couple, wow. Time flies. That's a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so a couple years ago, talking about the idea that, let's talk about how you came to this. You are a baseball writer too, aren't you?
Yep. I am. I write for the Minnesota Twins. I work for Twins Daily, which is one of the only owner-approved syndicates, basically, for the Minnesota Twins. We have access to players, and we have access to the locker room, the culture. It's basically been one of the best things that's happened to me, and I had an awesome opportunity to talk to LaTroy Hawkins and Pat Mahomes Sr., and learn about the disparities of blacks in baseball, and it really opened my eyes. And I took a look, and I was like, wow, there really are no more black Americans playing baseball. It really isn't a huge culture anymore.
A few years ago, Jimmy Rollins was on that same train saying that, black kids are going to other sports. And
Yeah.
they're going to other sports, namely basketball. And before, the best athletes went and played baseball.
Yep.
And so here we are. Okay, so you have some new exciting things that have happened, and you have some new and exciting things that are coming up. What's happening?
All right, so right now our biggest thing that we are doing is RBI Under the Clock, and we are raising money. We are raising money because we are getting ready to enter into a season of camps. We are starting baseball teams through RBI, which is connected in MLB in New York.
Can you tell everybody what RBI stands for?
Reviving baseball in inner cities.
So
Just in case not
the-
everybody knows.
Yeah.
Not the Jimmy Comer RBI.
Nope. It is
Or not the baseball RBI.
Yep, baseball RBI through MLB. My sponsor and mentor up there is Steve Smigaki, and he is amazing. So we are starting soon competitive teams, and we have been invited to the Hank Aaron Invitational. And we are also going to be hosting this summer the very first minority-based baseball tournament here in the Richmond area.
Cool.
We are inviting teams of minority children, black children, 757, 804, to come up here. We ran a successful, my very first ever scouting camp a couple of months ago, and it was amazing. It was all kids from this area in the 757, and they got to be seen in front of Virginia State University. They had help from former MLB players, and they got to learn for a very low amount what a scouting camp is. So now we're moving forward with, okay, now that we have this scouting camp, these kids are hungry. They want more. They need more. And so now we are writing scouting programs to help kids understand what goes into recruitment, what goes into scouting, so that they can be prepared, and we can teach these classes around here to other students, to other players. So we are really digging into how do we make more access, and that's what year 2 is going to be all about, is access and growth.
So Tiffany, when she talks about that, this is the passion, purpose that you're talking about, building something.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that, what was the idea to bring Sherry here today?
Because Sherry and I were talking, Sherry educated me first on the fact I didn't, because I'm not sports literate. I am ashamed to say, as a Canadian American, I'm probably not even hockey literate too much, except go Wayne Gretzky still, right? But
There's
outside
been a
of
few players since then, but
yeah,
the
but
idea
when I was
still
a kid, I had the Wayne Gretzky doll. A true Canadian has the Wayne Gretzky doll. Okay.
and we've had the conversation when in no other sport really is no one ever called the great one,
Yes.
and it's undisputed. I mean, there's him and Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Everybody else kind of like, well, I like this guy, I like that guy, but nobody questions those two.
He's a really good role model. Like when I was a kid, out of all, like, again, I'm not sports literate, but out of all the ones, like, nobody felt like, I don't know, should my kid really look up to this guy? Like he modeled a lot of behavior.
And he's carried that on into, you don't hear scandal associated with Wayne Gretzky.
No. But going back to the question, it was Sherry taught me like about baseball and how there are no, like, it's not inclusive anymore, that there's not black kids being exposed to it. She taught me the fact like how expensive baseball was, and I didn't know these things. So we got to talking, and I said, well, wouldn't it be great if we worked together, meaning Empower People and Kids on First Foundation, work together to create a mission purpose alignment ecosystem so for-profits and nonprofits can work together to make sports inclusive and accessible for all children in the Richmond area. And Sherry, I think you
Here
said
we
you
are.
like
Yeah,
that.
and here we are.
All right, so Sherry, let's talk about some. I always say changing the world ain't cheap, easy, or free.
No,
Money got to change hands.
money
somewhere.
got to change hands
All
somewhere.
right, so let's talk about some of the people who really have supported you out there. You put out a plea, baseball's come. You put out a thing, people show up. Let's talk about some of the ones who's been instrumental, and then let's talk about what's needed for you now.
Instrumental, hands down, number one, the Richmond Flying Squirrels. Hands down.
Remember the conversation years ago when you were wondering, do they know we exist, and how can we connect with them? I had Parney on a couple of months ago when I did my American Heart Association. It was the Radiothon. And he says, when we're approached, we start at yes. We start with the idea we're going to do it. And then sometimes we have to work backwards to figure out, maybe from a logistics standpoint. A lot of times when people start things, they start at no. And then you got to kind of talk them into it.
Yep.
So he says that's how we became part of the community.
And that has been the biggest thing because they started with yes. So they basically gave us our baseball uniforms. So we have a set of uniforms ready to go for one of our teams. And then the biggest thing that they've done for us is let us work concessions. And that has been a huge, huge part because it does take a lot of money. It does take a lot to do what I want to do. And I have been fully supported by them. The London company is another one. They're an advisory committee. They have donated money as well. But right now, we have gotten a lot of in-kind donations, which has been great. But financially, we have not had the people that have led with a yes outside of Parney.
Okay.
I'm just
There we
being
are.
honest.
That's what it takes here. And it's something, and we go back to that right there. Who do we need to talk to when you're saying, you go to a person that baseball or kids or something impacts their world? You don't go to an organization that,
It's about mission purpose alignment. So if you're looking at other for-profits who could be possible donors or funders of a program, it's a matter of how is this going to correlate or align with my own mission, and that's how you partner. And that's part of the reason why we're establishing a mission purpose alignment ecosystems that empower people, is because if we can get all these parties together naturally, as we're not asking for a handout anymore, it's like, how are we going to fund this together?
And one of the great things is that we are not only raising awareness amongst our youth here in Richmond. I actually had a really good phone call with MLB last week, 2 weeks ago, and told them about VSU and the HBCUs in the area. And they said, wait, you have access to an HBCU? And I said, you bet I do. And they said, what can we do? What can we do with this HBCU? And I said, what can't you do? And so now they are strategically helping me with now MLB doing the HBCU. They are doing a classic, they are doing a home run derby, and they want me to work with them to help them build an HBCU team right out of VSU. They also have been instrumental. Now they have created, which I'm really excited about, any of my kids that I have. Are you guys listening to this? Any of my kids that we have can apply for and get an internship through MLB through Kids on First. So not only can you play baseball, if you decide after college that you no longer want to play, outside of our scouting options for you and our people that we work with to get you scouted, now you can get an internship and work for MLB.
I'd like to ask Sherry a question because I want to hit a home run.
Okay,
So what is the why to get these kids who are often marginalized into baseball? What is the result? Because obviously not all these kids are going to be professional baseball players, and that's not necessarily the result you're seeking, right? What is the benefit of having these kids exposed and be able to play on these teams and have these experiences?
Baseball teaches you life lessons. Period. It teaches you how to be a good individual, but contribute to a team.
Yeah, here's the one thing with baseball is different. A lot of times people call baseball a loser sport because if you get, if you get a hit 3 times out of 10,
that's enough to get into the world or the Hall of Fame
with the best of the best. So that meant 7 times you went up there
and you struck out.
You came and sat back down.
Yep.
But you can affect the game in other ways. It's a thinking mix. It's sitting there. It's not a fast game.
Locker room mentality. We go back to that.
Oh.
Who's good for the locker
There's
room?
nothing better than a baseball dugout. They're setting people on fire. They're just doing all. It's not like a basketball where you see people just sitting there watching the game.
Extremely intense.
Baseball, they're setting people on fire, turning their hats inside out. Why? Because it moves at that pace. It's like a big family.
Yep. And I ask my HBCU guys all the time when we're actually playing. There'll be times where I'll say, you guys got to get loud. You got to get loud. I know it's cold out right now. I know it's, things aren't looking that great. I said, but it's on them to keep the momentum going. And, you see that a lot. And it's not always easy because you even see during the playoffs and the World Series, the dugout will get quieter as the game takes a different direction. And that's just the way that it is. But it's remembering that you're part of a team. There's things that you can learn in baseball. Patience. Patience is a huge one. Being able to really dig into your character and know where you have to improve. And that's a big one because little mechanical things make a huge difference. And you have to be ready to take that constructive criticism. You have to be ready to be willing to grow because all those things that happen to you on the field affect what you do off the field, period.
Are there any statistics that say like a child who plays baseball throughout their youth, like how does it impact them after that as an adult? Are there any studies or statistics to?
There are, but I don't have numbers off the top of my head, but I do know there are 2 statistics that I will always talk about. Right now, there's only 6.3% Black Americans playing baseball in MLB. That's it. And the other statistic is if a child doesn't touch a bat, by the time they're 10 years old, they will never pick up a bat.
I played on a lot of teams, whether it was football teams or basketball teams, but I always remember the Gwen Nord Tigers. It was my little league team. That was it. And our colors were yellow and gray. And that was the thing. Everybody, that small town America, it turns into baseball players. And baseball players a lot of times could get drafted from high school.
Yes.
So, a lot of times early on whether that kid is going to be somebody. That's why you see the Little League World Series.
Yes.
The cool part about it is so we talk about blacks in baseball, see when they do with the girls, and so you look at that right there. It opens doors. Baseball kind of was on the front lines on the racial aspect. Yep. And it took a long time for blacks to crack the code to get into baseball. And then there were a bunch of blacks playing baseball.
Yeah.
And then there were none. It went to all of the Caribbean countries. And they're going because that was their way out.
Right.
That was their out.
And it didn't help that Curt Flood opened up free agency, which allowed players to determine their own worth, which was great. But no owner was going to pay a black man what he said his worth was, and so he was going to go down and get cheaper players or slaves, however you choose to look at it, in the Caribbean islands.
It's funny because I had the Curt Flood conversation yesterday. Everybody knows Jackie Robinson and what he did. Curt Flood took a beating.
That's putting it mildly.
They took a beating.
Yeah.
He was the Colin Kaepernick of his day.
Absolutely.
And when they talk about there's no crime in baseball, there shouldn't be collusion in baseball. But that's an argument for another day.
That's a whole other argument.
That's a whole other argument right there. Tiffany's looking at us like, what are they talking about?
There's some names being
There's some
said.
names, there's
Some big
collusion
words.
going on.
Collusion.
Ultimately, it comes down to chemistry.
Yep.
Chemistry wins, and you see the teams. The Yankees tried to win,
But
and they
chemistry
didn't have
comes from purpose. Chemistry cannot be it comes from purpose.
The
So-
Rangers had a ton of purpose. They just won their first World Series, and that chemistry was sick.
So when they're getting players on their team, they're looking for, again, culture, purpose. Are they going to fit? You can't make something happen. We have
Correct.
Can't make it happen. Sherry Cerny, how can people find you out there?
We are on quite literally every
Everywhere.
platform. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, but we are all Kids on First everywhere. If you want to find me personally, it is Minnesota Sports Gal, but that's MNSOTA Sports Gal. And that is just my personal account, so you can follow me in my writing, whatever you want to do.
I'm surprised you didn't spell it the phonetically correct way.
I didn't feel like it.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. There you go. And Tiffany Greene, how can people find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and they can find obviously the website empowerpeople.org, MPWRPeople.org. Empower
Hashtag.
people.
Oh, that's right. And we have our own website. And please go vote for our tree. Please go vote for our tree. We are so excited that we have a baseball themed tree at Main Street Station.
Who are the judges this year?
I don't know who the judges are this year.
Oh, really? Oh, because
That's
you
good.
didn't
Nobody
have
can
it
pay
yet.
them off.
You had the lighting under where everybody came to the.
Yeah.
You did.
But it was the same night as Illumination.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was one of the judges. I was, one of the luminary. They wanted somebody cultured, so they asked me.
Well, of course.
Exactly.
But of course.
Shout out to, of course, some great poupon. Only the best and finest and most cultured come from Philadelphia and Youngstown.
Yes, Youngstown.
Shout out to Youngstown.
Shout out to
We
Youngstown.
got to go. These ladies got stuff to do. On the mic is Mike. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man.